Just take it up to the departure end of the runway, then a left turn and a lowest downwind. Cessna over the threshold, coming up on the white dot, at or beyond the white dot, left turn first available. I got a high wind coming up on about a half-mile final, clear to land at or beyond. Traffic on the left face, you're following a Cessna down, low off your left. Square it up just a little bit, and then we're going to get you in. Start your descent, though. Start your descent on the base. Traffic on final, give me follow on base. Base traffic, start turning toward the numbers now. High wing coming up on quarter-mile final, take it all the way down to the green. Cessna taxiing on the green, expedite down to the next hard surface. Get me some speed, there you go, go fast. This is going to be good. I got traffic on a mile final, you're following traffic ahead and to your right. High wing coming up on the threshold, take it all the way down to the green dot.
5 Charlie Sierra, 2 mile final.
A mile final, turn north, and we're going to just make you, we're going to bring you back around. Jet traffic's coming up on about a mile and a half final, runway 9er clear to land.
Okay, all right, let's listen up, guys. If you're on final for runway 9, I want you offset to the left. I got a jet that's landing on runway 9. The jet's cleared to land runway 9 if you can make it. If not, just continue straight ahead. It looks like you're going around for the jet. That's fine.
Oh, we have one right in front of us, sir.
Dragger. Let's see, what we got, a tricycle, put it down. Tricycle, put it down. Tail dragger, down to the green dot, then a left turn. Short final here, you cleared land on 9, all the way to the white dot, go down to the white dot. Find somebody to follow out here. Canard, just come to the runway and I might have to just send you around. That'll be fine. And for the jet, you just want to stay in this pattern or you want to go back out for an instrument approach?
Stay in a pattern, Charlie Sierra.
All right, just stay with me here for a minute. And my tail dragger, let's see, over the numbers, go down to the green. And Canard's going to have to go around. Canard, go around. And my high wing here over the runway, keep it airborne. You do not descend. You got a fast guy behind you. Do not descend. There you go. Keep it airborne. As soon as the guy behind you gets slowed down, I'm going to put you down. So keep it airborne. The one that just passed the white dot, make a left turn on the hard surface. All right, my high wing tail dragger, you can put it down now. And Charlie Sierra, let me get you about a mile off. Let's see, Charlie Sierra, I lost. There you are. Make a left-hand turn. I'll try to resequence you here on the downwinds. We'll see how it looks. Short final, you're clear to land runway 9 on the white dot. There you go. And the tricycle left on the hard surface and follow the flagman. Welcome. Thanks for being part of the show. And let's see, just find somebody to follow on the final. And as you get close to the runway, if it's not going to work, we're going to send you around and then try to resequence you. Now, who else got sent around that's not back on the downwind? The Canard?
Yeah, Canard.
All right, Canard, there's a Gulfstream up there that went around too. I just lost sight of him, but you're going to make kind of a left-hand turn and stay low. I think Charlie Sierra, what's your altitude?
3,200.
Okay, that'll be fine. Just maintain VFR. I don't know what else is up there above you. Probably most everybody's down here, so just make a left-hand turn. We'll try to get you back here.
Canard's got the jet in sight.
Okay, the RV, maybe an RV-10, whatever, you're on final. Keep your speed up and go all the way down to the, aim for the green dot for me. Actually, keep your speed up. There's a guy behind you. Aim for the green dot, and I'm sure that's plenty of room for you to land on runway 9. You're clear to land on runway 9. Number 2, you're going to go down to the white dot. Follow the white dot. Actually, you know what? That's 1,500 feet. You're going to land at the white dot. The spacing looks adequate here. 2 guys on final. You're kind of tight there. Keep each other in sight, and you're going to aim for the white dot. If it's not going to work, we'll come up with a plan B. We might have to send you around. The second guy behind you out there in about a 2-mile final. Are you slow enough to be able to follow that guy in front of you? You need to go around. Well, I probably shouldn't ask that because I had about 5 guys answer me, so I should know better than that after 35 years, you would think, right? All right, so let me see. The guy who's number 1, it's number 1. What kind of airplane is he? An RV type. All right, RV type. Keep it airborne for me. And I got a fast guy behind you. The number 2 guy over the trees there. Go ahead and put it down on the numbers. My first guy just coming up on the numbers at the over the grass at the numbers. I want you to keep
T-minus 1 minute and counting.
Hello.
Three, two, one.
Hello. Welcome everybody to the live stream tonight on Thursday, the 30. Well, we're nearly April. It's going to be spring. I told you when I got back it would be like lovely and warm, and there'd be
Didn't happen, did it?
grass, and it hasn't quite happened yet. So I'll probably have to go away again and come back again. But anyway, first of all, I have to say big thank you to Sky Demon for sponsoring this. Before we get on to their tip, just let anyone know who's here to see JP and who could blame you. He's in the green room. He's waiting, and we'll be getting to him as soon as we can. We're going to get through the tips, get through the weather, get through the news, and we'll get to JP. So anyway, without further ado, here is the tip from Sky Demon from Tim himself. What about NOTAMs this week?
Hi, I'm Tim from Sky Demon. Welcome to today's top tip. I'm sure you've noticed there are a lot of stupid NOTAMs out there. It's hard to see how some of them apply to anybody, let alone most GA pilots. We've worked quite hard to make NOTAMs as painless as possible in Sky Demon, so here are my tips to make the most of what we've done. My first tip is to start with the map. We draw some NOTAMs on the map, where they pertain to a restriction, a warning, or something else likely to be of interest to general aviation. The map is a good place to start when it comes to NOTAMs because you can visually plan around the ones most likely to pose a hazard to your flight, such as this one, which is about an unmanned aerial vehicle, or this one, which is a temporary danger area. NOTAMs have a diagonal hatched background and various outline colours depending on their subject. Now let's head to the NOTAM briefing. You should look at the briefing because it simply isn't possible or desirable to draw every single NOTAM on the map. So check here to make sure there isn't something else of relevance. My second tip is that Sky Demon sorts the NOTAMs so the least relevant stuff is moved under a general information heading, and in this case, around half of the NOTAMs have ended up here, which is good. When you're reading your briefing, you might spot a NOTAM that you know you don't care about and will never care about. My third tip is that to hide a NOTAM from your briefing forever, press the cross button. If there's a NOTAM in your briefing that is of interest, my fourth tip is to use the View on Map button, which will nicely highlight it, in case you didn't spot it when planning. For more information on any of our features, go to skydemon.aero and choose Help and Support.
So there you go.
Yeah.
I have to say, Tim has clearly he's been vexed by the Rob absurd NOTAM and has raised the stakes with Tim's stupid NOTAM.
Yeah, they're basically 4 tips on how to ignore ridiculous NOTAMs that nobody really cares about. Certainly none of us care about. Anyway, right. So in that case, I think we should move swiftly on to. Oh, did the Sky Demon film all their tips at once?
They are strangely ageless, but no, they do them. They're continually filming, aren't they, Ian?
Okay, so let me give you if you're really interested, what happens is the intro, hello, this is this week's top tip, and there's more about it in that they were all filmed, so they're kind of like tops and tails, and then they film the middle bits separately, so we sort of edit those in. So the front bits are ageless, but the bits where you only see their hand are not ageless, but then maybe they moisturize. I don't really know. Who knows? Sky Demon moisturizer. Right, let's get to some weather because Simon's not here, so we got a recording, and here you go with the weather.
Hi everyone, apologies for not being with you live this evening, but hopefully you don't mind recorded Simon. It looks like being quite a mixed weekend ahead with tomorrow, starting with that mixed or unsettled weather. I'm just going to show you this satellite picture. This is more like something that you'd see in the autumn. Look at that area of low pressure out towards the southwest of Ireland. That's spinning up and moving its way eastwards across the country during the course of tonight and into tomorrow. This is what it means for us. Gusting winds and gale force winds actually blowing through southern England as the area of low pressure moves its way eastwards. Look at the isobars close together here through the channel across southern England. Gusts of 50, 60 knots across the far south of England. Fronts wrapped around that area of low pressure as well, bringing cloud and bringing outbreaks of rain. The easterly wind bringing more cloud to eastern Scotland and to northeast England. So here I think there will be some spots of rain during the day. Give you an idea of bases. For the south, I don't think it'll make much difference because there's not going to be much flying, but 1,000 to 2,000 foot bases, tops of 20 to 30,000 feet, potentially with some embedded QNIMs. I think for those eastern coasts with 2,000 to 3,000 foot bases, tops about 10,000 feet. Western parts of Scotland, much better. Probably bases around about 4,000 feet tops at 8,000 feet. But either way, not a particularly brilliant day. Now, for Saturday, we've got easterly flow affecting many parts of the country. This does bring some cloud and some rain to more eastern areas of England and eastern Scotland. A little bit hit and miss as to exactly where that rain is likely to be, but 2,000 foot bases seem likely, tops about 8,000 feet. Some clouds, some outbreaks of rain through Ireland and into southwest England, associated with the occluded front that you see there. And I think along that front, we could be looking at bases of 1,000 to 3,000 feet, tops probably about 12,000 feet. But in between, not bad actually. Lighter winds, bases 3,000 feet, tops at around 7,000 feet. So, yeah, Saturday doesn't look to be too bad a day. Now, for Sunday, the front is draped down western parts of the country. I think probably no more by then area of cloud, although some bits of rain affecting western parts of Scotland. Elsewhere, some morning mist and fog, but that should clear, and then that should leave us with a day of a fair amount of cloud and bases of around 3,000 feet, tops about 8,000 feet. Ireland too looks like it fares quite well, bases around 2,000 to 3,000 feet, tops at about 8,000 feet. But along that line of the front here, we're going to be finding more cloud, bases 1,000 to 2,000 feet, tops at about 8,000 or 9,000 feet. Just a bit of reduced visibility along the front as well, but all in all, not that bad. So actually you can see there, really, when you take it all into account, the weekend not looking too bad. Now, if you're coming on to Aviation Weather School on Saturday, hope you're ready for it. Don't forget your coloured pens and pencils. We're going to have a fantastic day. If you've not been to Weather School yet, then my next course is going to be an online course on the evenings of Tuesday the 18th and 25th of April between 6:30 p.m. and 9 p.m. This is your chance to build your confidence in understanding the weather, in getting out there and flying with the weather, interpreting the forecasts and making forecasts yourself, as well as predicting up to 5 days in advance so you can spot those weather windows. If you go to weatherschool.co.uk now, you can find out more information and book your place. It'll be super to see you there. Okay, I'll leave you with that for now. Have a fantastic weekend. Don't forget those winds in the south tonight. If there's anything you can do about them now, I mean, we're knocking on now, aren't we? But hopefully you should be able to batten down those last few bits and pieces if you need to. But for now, have a great weekend, and I'll see you next week, guys. Bye for now.
Wow, there you go. Thank you very much, Simon. I guess he's not here tonight because he's probably at home holding his shed down or something. Right, Johnny, let's have a quick look at the club promo. What have we got?
Yeah, so we've got some new landing vouchers which will be dropping on whenever the first is. Saturday. Got there in the end. Yeah, Saturday. So we've got, I think we covered them last week, but we've got Easter. Thank you, David. Bodmin, Carnarvon, Rougham, and also Tatton Hill, which is weekdays only. So we've got 5 new airfields there for people to visit. You can combine that and do some Fly 2023 stuff as well. Add those to your list of airfields and your number of minutes flown for the year. And also we had Will Flood on Tuesday evening with Dave doing a webinar on buying and selling aeroplanes, which you can watch back if you're a club member. If you aren't a club member, you have to join and then you can watch it. And later next month, we should have Greeners on to talk about UPRT, I think, which will be good. So, yeah, if you're not a member, join. £5 a month, £52 for the year. Absolute bargain. And, yeah, we've got plenty more lined up throughout the year.
Great. Excellent. And any Fly 2023 updates? Just give me an excuse to ping up the new graphic to thank Bose Continental and New Avionics, who are covered up, interestingly. Jolly good. Right.
Yeah.
Right. For those of you that are tuned in just to see JP, I'll say it again, he's with us soon. He's in the green room. Oh, I can see an empty chair at the moment, but he was there. There you go. Howdy all. Perfect.
Talk about multitasking guest already in the comments.
He'll be with you soon. We've just got to rattle through some news first of all. So let's kick off with Dave.
Right, the first story is about RAF Scampton, which tomorrow ceases to be an RAF base, but it's going to be turned into a temporary centre for asylum seekers, people who've migrated here. The government confirmed that yesterday. Immigration Minister Robert Jenrick made the announcement in the House of Commons, confirming that both RAF Wethersfield in Essex, and RAF Scampton and Lincolnshire will house migrants. There will also be a separate site on private land in East Sussex. They will be housed in porter cabins, apparently, while they're awaiting processing. The decision wasn't totally unexpected because both the council and the local MP, Sir Edward Lee, have both been up in arms about it. Apparently, the local council, West Lindsey District Council, is taking out an injunction against the Home Office to try and stop it. If you may remember that West Lindsey District Council has put together a £300 million plan to regenerate the site, the Scampton site, into being a heritage centre, keep the runway active, and a whole bunch of other things as well. So that plan is in tatters at the moment because clearly, until this is sorted out, they can't go ahead. I guess one is going to run for a while because there's going to be a battle. Simple as that.
In many different directions, I imagine.
Yeah.
Of course, they could just speed up the processing. That might do it. Anyway, moving on from that. Second news, it's probably beginning to become the world's worst kept secret, I think, coming up to Tuesday, Sun and Fun. Bose launched the new headset, the A30. Here it is. We had them a little while ago. Dave, I'm surprised you haven't got a Gosport tube, Dave, to be honest.
No, he put that away with his sextant.
Sorry, did I miss something? I couldn't hear a thing then.
No, you didn't. Anyway, Ed and I went flying, went and tested them, and there's another picture of them somewhere. There you go. That's what they look like. I think there's been quite a lot of talk about these. Effectively, there's a whole bunch of other bits and pieces. You'll have to watch the video and read the review. But effectively, I thought they were going to be the same price, but they appear to be slightly more. But I don't think it's a huge amount more.
It's a small aviation metric. More expensive.
In aviation terms, it's not even one aviation unit, is it?
No.
I must admit, one of the things I didn't realise was that the Bose is the same price whether you have Bluetooth or you don't have Bluetooth.
Yeah.
So they're pretty much all the same price. So get Bluetooth, everybody, in GA.
Yeah.
I think one of the things they showed was just how good the A20 is in terms of noise cancelling and stuff. There's not a huge amount of difference there. So, but these will replace the A20s. And this is the new A20, the A30. So there you go. Anything you want to say about that, Ed? You've had it on your head.
Well, I thought they were. There's been a lot of people going, 13 years, and this doesn't seem to have moved things along a lot. But I think people are missing the fact that potentially, Lightspeed had the Delta Zulu, which had the CO sensor in it. Bose haven't got any sensing or any extra tech kit over and above headset at the moment. However, there's clearly ways of adding sensor kit to this headset. So, expect. I think you spoke to one of when you had your super secret briefing, they did say there are bits of kit in development for this, aren't there?
Yeah, well, I did kind of had to point out the fact that actually, Delta Lightspeed had come along with their carbon monoxide detector, and Bose had no sensors on board. It's good. So they have the capacity. And one of the things with the new things that did change that I guess you won't see much of is clearly a headset 13 years on. There's an awful lot more processing power and other bits and pieces that you can do that you couldn't do with the originals. So that's opened up a bit like Garmin when they come out with the GTN against the GNS.
Yeah.
Watch this space, I guess, and see what you do.
The A30 is all digital, isn't it? Whereas the A20 was analog.
Mm.
We might get a Chat GPT plugin that you can just stick in there and ask it anything to do with aviation.
That could
bloody aeroplane for you.
My RT immeasurably. So.
Yeah, absolutely. Right, that's enough of that. Let's move on to the next story, which I think is Ed.
It's me with Rotax news. Almost as bad a kept secret as the Bose A30 launch. Rotax launched the Rotax 916 IS. Obviously, we teased the news. Well, Rotax had begun teasing us last week that they were going to reveal something, and just like we guessed, it was indeed the 916. This sort of secret engine is 160 horsepower, and I think it's 135 continuous. So you've got 160 for 3 minutes, and then the 130. I think it's 130 or 135 for the rest of time. We're all the way up to 23,000 feet. But this was revealed at Sun and Fun on Tuesday. The 916 ISC, to give it its full designation, it's aimed at 4-seater aircraft and for high-performance 2-seaters. It's just like the Cubcrafters Carbon Cub UL, which you'll hear from Johnny shortly, as that was the launch aircraft and also unveiled at Sun and Fun. The engine weight is 85.8 kilos, claimed max power of 160 horsepower, and Rotax say this is unprecedented power to weight ratio in the light aircraft segment. Also comes with a 24-volt power option. Peter Oldsinger of BRP Rotax said the launch of the 916 IS is yet another testament to our commitment to developing groundbreaking technologies and creating the most advanced propulsion systems for our customers. And the 916, it's got all sorts of clever. Well, they say, it's a simplified maintenance engine and servicing. And if you look at the photo of it on the Carbon Cub nose, it looks far from simple. But it's got clever utility and diagnostic software where it can be interrogated, and Rotax can find out what's wrong with it, if anything goes wrong with it. 2,000-hour TVO at launch. Not surprising, as the engine builds on the success of the 915 IS, and the 916 has already had extensive experience in military drones. So we will see the 916 in Europe unveiled at Aero in Friedrichshafen in a few weeks' time.
We'll go and see them. I think the price is knocking around the 40k, isn't it? 40k sterling.
Yes. It's not cheap. In fact, I think it's the first time a Rotax has eclipsed the price of its equivalent equivalent Lycoming counterpart, because actually in the home built world it has, because you can buy a 160 horsepower engine from Vans for less than the cost of a Rotax 916. But
it'd be interesting to see what the fuel. 135 horse max continuous. I'd be interested to see what fuel burn is, because the 915 AS at high power settings
is thirsty.
We can ask JP about it later, but it can get thirsty if you're like rattling along at full power.
Yeah.
Johnny, tell us about this really, really cheap microlight that's just been announced in the US.
Yeah, the Cubcrafters Carbon Cub UL, which is announced again on Tuesday, along with it was announced just before, I think, in terms of timing, just before the 916. So the aircraft is going to be lighter, better performing than its predecessor, the SS. Burn MOGAS, AVGAS. It meets ASTM standards, and it will meet the UK's light sport microlight class, which is good news. And obviously, as Ed said, they've worked with BRP Rotax, so the airplane's been kind of designed around this. But the CEO, Patrick Horgan, said that they're reimagining the Carbon Cub by incorporating the latest pre-preg composites, titanium components, and new manufacturing techniques. So it'll be an interesting airplane to see, I think, once either Aero or later in the UK when one appears.
Yes, it's definitely going to be an Aero, isn't it? And I think they're saying that what we saw in the Red Bull Bullseye Challenge, which was the Mike Pateyized Carbon Cub, a whole bunch of that weight saving stuff has crossed over into this Carbon Cub UL.
We've taken your fuel tanks away and we've given you a Coke can. You can fly for 15 minutes.
It's not gone as far as that.
No, but in a serious note, a load of people love a whole backcountry flying. So if you stick big wheels, you can eat into the useful load quite quickly, I imagine.
Probably,
big wheels and stuff like that. So.
Yeah, and they're accepting deposits, but you won't be able to get one until early 2025, apparently.
And if they're accepting deposits, but not telling us how much.
That sounds a bit like Icon, doesn't it? Well, we can when we go to Aero, which is not far away now, we can go and buttonhole them and ask them, can't we? Stick a camera in their face. Go, how much is it then?
Yeah, the aeroplane's going to be there. So they say.
Yeah, good.
Wow. It's great to see Cubcrafters dabbling in what is going to be the ultralight and 600 kg market in Europe.
Yep.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, presumably when you said it's going to meet the UK requirements, you meant it's kind of a 600k ultralight, because presumably it'll still have to go through the whole sort of BCAR section S hybrid type thing.
Yeah, so because to be a UK 600 kg microlight, you need manufacturer approval and you need an approval from your operating body, don't you? So whether it's BMAA or LAA. I guess because I did wonder about this. I was talking to someone earlier today, and Cub crafters have an EASA certified aeroplane already in the X-Cub. So it makes you wonder whether they're already a CAA approved manufacturer.
I think we know full well, Ed, that the LAA and the BMAA, they might look at a certified aircraft by EASA and the FAA and go, what do they know?
Yeah.
I'm only joking. I'm sorry, people.
I live in hope. So.
No, me too. Anyway, right, it's time to show our legendary slick production skills and bring JP on here, shuffle him around a bit. Hello, JP. Let me just move you up to the top left-hand corner. Cheers. Let's see. Oh, look, I got that right.
Quite impressively, we guessed 10 to 8, and we thought, no, we'll never manage that.
Yeah, we've done it.
JP was back just in time.
I'm going to move Johnny up to the top. Take it away, Johnny. I'm going to change my sound.
Good. So we're joined by JP Schultz, who's a YouTuber, aircraft builder, pilot, and who's done lots of incredible flying around the world. So JP, welcome. Thanks for joining us. And for anyone wondering, you're kind of having your breakfast right now, aren't you?
Yeah, I'm in wake up mode. So if I say anything silly, that'll be my excuse. But I do have coffee, so I'm happy.
Good stuff. So you first came onto the screens of many of us when you flew with Louis Cole around the world. Tell us what came before all that, though. How did you get into aviation? How did it start?
That's a novel, but I'll condense it. It really started with growing up in Namibia, which is in Southwest Africa, and my family's always had a deep love for flying, but we didn't have money growing up, so we became quite sort of frugal and in sort of a continuous pursuit of flying machines, but they tended to be quite sketchy things. I actually think I sent you guys a picture of the sort of weight shift trikes that I grew up flying in Namibia. Yeah, there we go. So that's really the roots of where I come from. Good old two-stroke Rotaxes and just exploring the Namibian desert, and it taught me a lot about airplanes and fixing them up, and about sort of real adventures. Because when you go 30 miles an hour, flying a 100-mile trip feels like you're crossing an ocean. So it kind of really set me up for the appetite for adventure. And through time, we were able to sort of jump from one plane to another and get out of the trike world. As much as I like trike flying and weight shift, it's very limiting in terms of weather and conditions as a whole, and it's also fatiguing, not to mention the windless trikes that we were flying were death traps. So moved into the experimental world, and that's really where I felt most at home my whole life. My dad, the first real plane he bought was a J3 Cub replica with a VW engine on the front. Essentially also a death trap, but there it is. That thing changed my life because it was, I think it probably equates to about 10,000 pounds for that thing, but to buy it, but it meant we could actually do some real flying. And the interesting sort of evolution when the Cubby came around was that when you're doing trike flying, there's often not a great change of scenery because you're flying so slow, and often you're sort of trailering the trike where you go, and then you do a bit of flying there. So there was never really an impetus to look around as much as it was just the sheer adventure of holding on for dear life in the thing. And when we started flying the fixed wings, the scenery became such a big part of it, and trying to see more of the country. And that sparked my love for photography and filmmaking. And because I had this deep yearning to share what I was seeing, because it felt like the most extraordinary privilege to be able to fly. It's like, how lucky am I to live in this era and to be able to see these things? So yeah, that's sort of the really condensed version of it all. There's a lot of RC flying in my early days because I couldn't afford to fly. So I built a lot of RC airplanes and yeah, just always loved flying, always wanted to fly. My family's always loved flying, but we've never, during my childhood, we never really had the resources to do it to the extent that we wanted to.
So just a quick aside there, that must be like the only time in history that the Cubby has been accused of being a fast aeroplane.
You know, everything's relative. It's all in contrast. I would definitely consider it very slow now, but yeah.
So how did you come to then flying around the world? What was the journey to that?
It was actually back to those days, around the time that my dad bought the Cubby. There's a magazine in South Africa called SA Flyer, and that was really the only aviation magazine I was ever had access to. We'd occasionally get the Flieger magazine, which is the German version, but we had to pay like a premium for it. So I was obsessed with the SA Flyer, and I have from 2001, I think, I have every copy until like 2011. And I came across Mike Blythe much younger in my life because my dad was flying trikes. He you know, the trike world's kind of small, and Mike Blythe, who's the designer and founder of Sling, along with James Pittman, he was doing this massive trip from the southern tip of South America to the southern tip of Africa, but the long way around. And I had the privilege in 1999 to meet him as a little kid, and I remember it's like so visceral in my head, like standing at the airport in Swakopmund, my hometown, and there was this little kerfuffle and excitement in the little trike community there, and these two trikes came across the horizon, and I remember it took forever because they're like 10 miles away and 5 miles away, and you can finally see them, and then you get all excited, but then there's that awkward intermission, you know, where you wait for them to get closer. And anyway, so they land, and Mike and Olivier get out, and I was just awestruck by these guys because I had no concept of anything beyond Namibia until I was 16, 17. I'd never left Namibia. I didn't know anything else. So as a 6-year-old boy, the concept of that just blew me away. And so my fascination with using airplanes as tools for adventure started, and for travel. And then throughout the years, I was always following Mike's adventures in the SA Flyer. You know, occasionally they do a piece on him. And then in 2008, they were on the front cover with this silver airplane, like this 2-seat silver airplane. And I was fascinated by this thing because it was South African built. So there was the potential that when this becomes a kit, me and my dad could one day potentially, you know, start buying the kit and parts and start building one. And then a year later, they built a yellow one and flew it around the world. And my mind was blown. I was like, wait, you can do that? You can take that little thing and, you know, and so that planted the seed, and it became this obsession. It became this dream to use an airplane. I've always kind of been obsessed with using tools to their fullest potential. I feel like we often in modern day life, we have all of these incredible tools that are so powerful, yet we only use them to do less instead of to do more. And so for me, it became this thing where I wanted, the same reason for why I cycled across America. I wanted to use a bicycle to its absolute fullest potential. And the same with the airplanes. And so, yeah, I watched them, Mike and James, fly around the world again in the Sling 4. And then when I was in high school, I bought an RV kit, the Empennage, and I was going to build that and fly that around the world. And it, again, became this relentless dream. The dream was to fly around the world, but the bigger dream was to make films about it, like to tell the story of that and sort of express my love for flying through films. And yeah, then I met a guy called Louis, and he wanted to come along, and we needed a bigger plane. So
how was that 3 months?
What's that? Sorry?
Did you? I think what I'm trying to say is, how well did you know Louis before that? And
pretty well, yeah. Like
someone in a 4-seat airplane for 3 months is quite a concentrated experience.
Yeah, I knew Louis well because we done a flying adventure in Namibia well before that, and he was one of my closest friends, before we even did the trip. So I think that's kind of essential. You've got to kind of know what you're getting into. The flying around the world is such a stressful environment. It's a pressure cooker, and it's why I love adventures like this, because I have this analogy of a billboard or like a big whiteboard. Is when you do these adventures, there's no hiding about what you're made of. Like everything is going to be written down and on display, and all your vices and virtues are going to be there. And you gotta be able to get along with the person that you're with. Otherwise it's going to become very unpleasant. And yeah, it definitely was difficult. I won't shy away from that. It was, that first round the world flight was one of the hardest things I've ever done.
What were the particular hard points?
The unknown. So I think the hardest part for me was my emotional state. So just where I was very young. I was 20, turning 21. I was flying at 210 that we just bought. I was worried about that. That's it there. And so I'm having to manage an airplane as well as manage another person. Carrying the responsibility of someone else's life at that age is, I very quickly, this is hard to, I've never really spoken about this. The challenge for me was that I was so excited about the trip and the prospect of having a friend join me that I didn't really I wasn't entirely transparent with Louis at the beginning about the risk of doing something like that. And then progressively with time, I had to start, making him aware of that, because there was no way I was going to start flying across oceans without him knowing what we're about to get into. But it ended up not really phasing him as much as it started phasing me. I started realizing what I've gotten myself into here. And I can take care of myself and I'm responsible for my own life, but someone else is a whole different story. And it just, that weight really wore on me heavily. And then the other thing was that I had a couple of very influential South African pilots and people that were involved in aviation there for many years. And I was very excited to share the fact that I'm finally flying around the world on a forum called AVCOM. And I got absolutely picked apart by the people who I spent my life idolizing. And they started taking bets out on whether I was going to die or not. And it was heavy. It was unbelievably heavy, the weight of that. And I couldn't shake it. It consumed me, because it still started well before we actually left, And yeah, that was probably the hardest part about it all, honestly, was the excitement of wanting to share this adventure with the people that I grew up idolizing. And yeah, I don't know how to wrap that one up.
It highlights the fact that there are people in the world that get on and do stuff, and there's a lot of people who sit behind keyboards and don't. So yeah,
and it also it was, for me as a young man, it was an introduction to sort of confirmation bias and ego, and also the whole realm of nuance. Like, nuance is so important, and people often will watch videos online that are 12 minutes long and think they know what's going into something, or they think that know that what I've done that entire day. And there was a lot of misconception about how unbelievably seriously I took that trip and how much preparation and planning went into it. And over 10 years of obsession, you know, you don't just get in a plane and fly across oceans. It's just not going to happen. So it made me realize that just because people are grown up and older and all of that doesn't mean they get things necessarily, you know. And it took me many years to realign my maturity, I guess, in scope of that.
I was watching the one of the last episodes where you were setting off from Honolulu, was it Honolulu to Oakland for the 16-hour leg, and you can really, I think rewatching that, and you could really see the intensity in you, and like you say, Louis almost kind of embraced he was like really excited, but you could see that was weighing heavily on you personally.
That flight alone was the most physically demanding thing I've ever done in my life. And I've run marathons, and, you know, I love sports and big hikes, but that was nuts because we were in Hawaii for 2 weeks. We were not supposed to be there for 2 weeks. It was supposed to be a quick fuel tank change to expand the capacity of the airplane for that flight and get the approvals and go. And we couldn't get approvals. And we had this massive event planned. A lot of people flew from all over the world to be there, which is just, deadlines are called deadlines for a reason, right? Like, just, it's not a good idea. And then for the 3 days leading up to that flight, I had slept maybe 5 hours total. And then when we got permission, because we got permission we had 2 hours to spare. I was going to make the call within 2 hours. If we didn't get approval for the flight, so the main reason we struggled with paperwork was it's a certified airplane, so operating overweight, you have to get all sorts of approvals. And it was a huge decision to make on whether whether the human factor side of things was there to try and attempt a flight like this. And in truth is, I probably shouldn't have gone. I was already tired, and I was only running on adrenaline at that point. Got definitely one of the most challenging takeoffs you can ever do in your life, because you're operating an airplane so significantly overweight. And then you're flying through the night. It's just not a good idea. I started hallucinating on that flight out of fatigue. It was crazy. It was really, really nuts. So, yeah, that was a big one.
And I think people were surprised, I think, because I think a lot of people kind of almost figured that Louis might have some kind of pilot experience, but, you know, he was really literally just a passenger along for the ride, wasn't he?
Yeah, so the plan was always, I'd organized for him to come out to Toronto, Canada, where I was doing a lot of my preparation for the trip. And so we had flight training and stuff set out for him, but he was so busy leading up to the departure that he never had time to come out. And then we defaulted to, you know, I'll teach you as we go kind of thing. But it very quickly, I realized that the last thing I've got capacity for is training right now, or doing any kind of teaching. And I just need to stay focused, because from basically the day we left, I was in survival mode. It was just, I could not mess up. If I made one major wrong move, we were gone. So it was a big one.
Just to bookend that, Ed, because that was the last flight. The bit that I was watching a part where you were driving to go and to buy the 210 in Oklahoma somewhere, I think it was.
Yeah.
And you were driving through a hailstorm, and Louis said, "Would it be okay if we were flying in this?" And you were going, "No, definitely Definitely not. And at that point, you realise, okay, maybe he wasn't an experienced pilot at that point.
Yeah. You mean me or Louis?
No, Louis was asking if, and you were saying no, you definitely wouldn't be flying in this.
Yeah, you wouldn't be flying for very long, even if you tried.
Exactly.
I was surprised. He did catch on with time. He definitely really absorbed a lot, but he had no flying experience beyond the one little trip that we did in Namibia. So, and to be fair, I hadn't done a lot of flying in the Midwest, and the Midwest in the US is next level, like in terms of weather events. It really is. I've flown a lot of places, and that's some crazy stuff out there. I didn't really know it at the time yet, and 4 weeks later, we flew right into something just like that. So, and by accident. So,
wow. So, having done that journey, Well, it must have changed how you approach doing other long distance flights. So, how did that happen?
It changed who I was, honestly. But the most interesting takeaway from a flying perspective was I had a friend, Matt, join me from New York to Europe, and that was really a sort of desperate call for help, because I was just so stressed and fatigued, and I just didn't feel like I was quite I needed to split some of that processing demand every day so that I could use the time to recoup. And so Matt joined along, and I remember getting quite agitated with him with how relaxed he was. It was like, we're crossing the freaking North Atlantic and you're chill. Like, what's going on? And then it was now with the sling trip when I realized, this is what it is. It's like, it's just, you know what to expect, you know what's coming, and there's just an inner calm that comes from experience and knowing what's within your control and what not. And with most things, you are concerned about things that don't end up being relevant, and you're not concerned about the things that you should be concerned about. And long distance, this kind of flying is really that. And I on camera or in videos, it often seems like, we're just kind of sending it and we're way relaxed and stuff. But that's just because we've done our homework on the things that matter, and the things that most pilots would be concerned about don't apply for that kind of flying.
So I mean, you finished that round the world trip 5 years ago, roughly.
Yeah, almost. Yeah, coming up.
Yeah, coming up for 5 years, and then you got to Oshkosh last year. So what from the round the world trip to deciding, I know what, I'm going to go and build an aeroplane.
Do you mean what happened in between, or why did I feel the need to do it again?
No, not why. I understand why you felt the need to. I mean, did you land? Did you get back and you went, you know what, I need to do that again, and the rest of it was working towards building that high wing. The high wing probably didn't even exist when you landed.
Yeah. So I mean, I knew about the high wing for a long time. Reason why I got one so early was because I was very early in line. I knew before it was even announced, but I knew right away after landing, I was like, I got to go do that again, because I didn't enjoy it. Like, it wasn't what you can't go live your dream and not enjoy it. And I could see how through my own sort of personal growth and with some emotional maturity and more experience in that kind of flying, I could really end up enjoying something like that. So it just became a thing that I wanted to do. The Sling High Wing is my dream airplane. It fits everything that I've ever wanted out of a plane. So inherently, I was going to build one. I had just finished building another plane here in New Zealand and sold it. So there was this kind of opportunity for it. And yeah, it it was just kind of what I was always going to do, I guess.
It wasn't a really long time that you spent building the Sling High Wing either, was it? It wasn't the time between finishing the round the world trip and now. You built the Sling High Wing in something like 4 months, didn't you?
Yeah, I think just over 4 months. Yeah, I that I'll never do again. The toll on my body was insane, and and I had help with things like the engine installation and avionics and and paint. It's just and it wasn't even the so Linda and I, we didn't get kits. We got production prototypes. So it wasn't like there's this whole forum of people and highly refined plans and a lot of the components on the plane was still being iterated and developed. And so there was a lot of it was not a kit build. It was more than that. And we were also contributing heavily towards the development of the airplane. So I was heavily focused on the tail dragger aspect of it, flying the living daylights out of the prototype and tail changes and tail wheel configurations and all of that. And then seats, optimizing that. There was a gear, the main gear. There's a lot of work going on in the heat of this development of this airplane. But that's why I think this really worked, is because Linda and I were the kind of customers, if you will, that understood where the phase of the airplane was at, and we were more in for it to help it be better instead of wanting a complete kit. So writing the manual or helping iterate the manual was a big part of what I was doing. And then it was an unreal undertaking, and I think it's a huge testament to the extraordinary talent that Sling has, because they have a talent pool of people there that is unbelievable, and it was a master class at being resourceful and getting stuff done. So it was probably the greatest period of my life, that build, even though it ruined me physically. It was such a romantic time. It's hard to explain, but just every morning you wake up and there's this sort of atmosphere, this energy towards adventure, and it was awesome.
And doing all these builds and all these adventures, you still managed to find time to put together some fantastic video. I mean, we know that we're only dabbling in video at the moment, but we know just how hard it is and how much time it takes to put them together. And you're still doing all these other things. How do you manage it?
A lot of anxiety and very little sleep. Yeah, I mean, it's definitely, the trip was a while ago, and I had to come back to New Zealand because of medical reasons for a while. So content's definitely later than I was hoping it would be, but it's also allowed me to reprogram myself as an artist a little bit. But it's easier to really be motivated to spend 200 hours on a video when it's such a passion project. And that's really what these films are about. The films that I'm making right now, so far at least, they're my life's work. There's so much that's culminating into making these, and I have very little footage that I'm working with. Like, I'm really squeezing juice out of stones with these, and they're challenging me in a way that nothing ever has in terms of filmmaking. But I think that's making me a better filmmaker, and I'm really enjoying extracting the story out of these, out of the little footage that I have. And it's for the love of it, I guess. It's just I love flying, and I want everybody to experience that. And even though it never comes close to make a film compared to what it's really like up there, I can always work towards bringing more and more of that sensation into my films. So, yeah.
So you flew you flew the high wing to Oshkosh. What are the plans? What future plans have you got for it?
For the high wing, it's in LA right now, and I have a long list of. I love building things. I love engineering. So there's a long list of things that I want to do to it, like that are personal to my mission, and so that's going to be the big thing. Before I continue around the world, I want to do a lot of mods and really get the airplane set out exactly how I want it. The pace of the build means that my airplane ended up a little bit heavier than I would have liked, mainly because of fairings and things that we just had to sort of wet lay up and get done to make sure the airplane gets to Oshkosh. So there's a lot of cowlings and fairings and things that I want to redo to get the weight down. And then there's obviously the 916, and then there's a lot of adventures around North America that I want to do first, because the plan was never to rush around the world, right? Like, it was never to just the initial push was to make sure I get to Oshkosh, but now I want to take my time. So I'm gonna hover around the US for a while. I'm gonna go up to Canada, put some floats on, and go play around there, then come back down, put big bush wheels on, go down to Baja, Mexico, and just have fun, really. I've taken a job in California. I'm awaiting my visa for that, but that's on a TV show, so that's going to be another very big, exciting part of my life. And so for the next little bit, I'm going to be there, and then get the airplane ready for the rest of the adventure.
We shouldn't expect you in the UK next week, then.
I mean, you never know. I do need to get out there at some point. So I'll probably be there in I think August. I'll probably be in the UK. So, but I did forget about Aero Friedrichshafen, and you guys did just mention it. So I'm like, maybe I should head over.
You should.
Maybe you should. Yeah. Will you be going to Oshkosh this year? Yeah, every year. I will not miss, unless I'm stuck in some sort of lockdown again. I will never miss an Oshkosh. It's just my event every year. I love it. Yeah, I think we've been there every year for the last, I don't know, whatever it is, 10 years or so, maybe. We had to miss one because we couldn't get, during lockdown, we couldn't get permission to get into the US from the US government.
Yeah, so. same. Yeah, I love it there.
There's a couple of questions popped up in the comments, JP. Steve Carroll asks, what happened to the film that was in the works with Netflix of your adventure with Louis?
That ended up on Discovery. So that was on Discovery Plus on their streaming service. So it's also on Amazon Prime. I think you guys can watch that in the UK on Amazon Prime. And it's out there.
And Alwyn asks, are you going to fit bush wheels to, I'm guessing Zazu is the name for your high wing, is it?
Yeah, Zazu. I love that. It's I already did. So that's coming. There's some stuff coming. And she looks really good on 31-inch bush wheels. Really, really good. So there's content coming around all of that, and more to come. One of the mods I'm making is related to backcountry flying. So,
I have to say, because I flew the high wing in the UK, the nose dragger version, the one that Pilot Bambi was ferried back to the factory.
Yeah,
and it wasn't the shortest takeoff airplane I've ever flown.
No, so it's got a lot of potential to fly slower or to land slower. That's kind of more. It's a high-speed airplane, and it's designed to go faster. It's also still, like between the ones that are coming off the production line now and that model, which is the same as mine, there's so much development already done. But I on the tail dragger, I can land it within 300 feet. So it's, you know, you really can, if you know what you're doing. It's critical because the wing loading is quite high, but it's never going to be a kit fox, but it's also not a kit fox, right? So I kind of call it the modern day 180 because I can fly circles around a 180 and I can land anywhere that it can and probably more places. And that's before any mods. So, you know, I'm working very heavily on creating a sort of backcountry kit for the airplane that allows it to do even better there. So it's already, I mean, 300 feet for a 4-seater is pretty good. You know, it's heavy. You got to slam it on and brake hard and stuff, but you can do it. And then there's a lot more potential on the table.
So there's probably places that you can get into, but that you might think twice about getting back out of.
Yeah, I mean, it really depends. I mean, the 916 is going to change that for sure. It's really going to change that. But I've got a different prop on mine. I've got the big 78-inch, I think. I'm actually more concerned about getting into places. I'm pretty sure I will get it out of anything I can get it into. Okay. The performance on that bigger prop is pretty unbelievable. It completely changed the airplane. I got almost 5 knots extra cruise. I got 450 feet a minute better climb, and I burn 2.5 liters. Yeah, 2.5, 3 liters an hour less. So it made a big difference.
Wow, that's huge. That's huge. Yeah. Wow. Fantastic. So what? Just we're kind of getting to the point where we're slightly running out of time, unfortunately. But just at the moment, your videos, the videos are, you're not quite at Oshkosh yet. So how many more videos have you got before you get to Oshkosh?
It's hard to know because so essentially what is happening is last year the whole trip, there was a sort of preliminary documentary set out to be made on the trip, and so I edited together a string out of all of that to see if there was enough meat for a documentary, and there is, and I'm withholding certain parts from the videos for that, and I hope to have that ready around Oshkosh time. It'll be cold point and no return, but what I'm essentially doing is I'm pulling scenes or sort of sections from that documentary, and you know, really polishing them up and throwing them up as YouTube videos. So I could stretch it out into probably 4 more, but I think I'll do 3 more until Oshkosh, and that's really when the fun really starts. And so Oshkosh will be really the sort of beginning of something really awesome as well. So yeah, these are taking me about 200 hours each to make, and so I'm releasing them as quickly as I humanly can, because I'm a one-man band, so it's a lot. But yeah, there's a lot. It's really only the beginning. Like the content coming is amazing.
Well, I have to say, really looking forward to seeing that, and hopefully catch up with you at Oshkosh. If you don't make it to Aero, but otherwise catch up with you at Aero.
Yeah, it'll be really good to finally go to Aero, because I've been wanting to for years. So I'll see if I can make that happen. But
it's
I'll
fantastic.
be at
So
every year.
Let us know. We'll show you the beer places. No, I didn't mean that. We'll show you the airplane.
No, beer. I got German blood, so I want beer.
Okay, that sounds good. And we can introduce you to Thomas from Flieger magazine if you don't know him already. So
yeah, that'd be cool. Yeah, never met him before.
Yeah, cool, brilliant. Any more questions in the comments, Ed?
Very quickly, Michael Atkins says, have the Patreon names been put on the wings yet, JP?
They are printed or vinyl cut, but they haven't been put on yet because I left in quite a hurry. But the plan was actually to have them on prior to leaving, but then I put some stickers on and I realized that they kind of messed with the flow of the wing just a little bit. You know, that I was like, I'm going to need every bit of efficiency I can. So, but yeah, they're all, there's a long list of them ready to go, and as soon as I get back, they'll go on.
Fantastic. Steve Carroll says, did you enjoy Pass Your Message when you and Matt Guthmiller were flying in British airspace?
I still have nightmares about that flight. Occasionally I'll wake up sweating. It's quite different. It's quite different.
It is quite different. It's a bit like it's a bit for us. It's a bit like suddenly being transposed into Southern California and having to deal with SoCal. It's like, what? These people never stop talking. It's
yeah. SoCal's a whole different freaking game. Yeah. You really start asking yourself, do I really want to fly today? Because it's hard work.
Yeah. Well, JP, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks for having me, guys. It was fun.
It's been brilliant. We really look forward to catching up with you at some stage at Oshkosh. Look forward to all of the go to YouTube and
if you I will post some links while Fancy Hangar trailer is running. I'll stick a link in the comments to JP's YouTube feed. So
brilliant,
awesome.
JP, thank you so much. It's been epic, and we look forward to catching up over a beer or three in Germany. Well, Germany's better beer than America, even though American beer is much better than it used to be. Right.
Well, I've proven that the world's quite small, so we'll run into each other somewhere. So,
sounds good to me. Sounds good to me. Thank you very much.
All right, guys.
Cheers.
See you later.
Bye.
Yeah.
Bye.
Must be time for. Wow.
What a guest. And I've found the link to JP's YouTube videos. So click follow that, and you will get more of JP's videos. What people like JP just make me feel like I've underachieved, especially when he goes, my videos are my life's work, and it's like, you're not 30 yet. Like, what am I doing with my life?
I don't know, Ed. I think in the next few minutes it's Fantasy Hangar. That's what you're doing.
Yes, that's about my level of achievement, really. So this week, inspired by JP and his earth rounding activities, especially with his home built sling, we thought, hey, let's pick a home built earth rounding aircraft for our own fantasy hangars. Interestingly, there's been more home builts flown around the world than you might think. It started in 1976. Don Taylor flew a Thorpe T-18. 24 home builts have followed suit. Obviously, Burt Rutan's Voyager in 1986, unrefueled. More recently, in 2019, Lance Air builder Bill Harrelson broke Matt's comrade's 58-year-old record. 58-year-old 8-day record. 22,000-mile trip, 5 legs. The longest was 31 hours, and he had to manage an average speed of 108 knots or better. So who's first with the pick?
Dave. Dave's going to get in there with what he's convinced is going to be the winner this week, and I think he's in with a shot.
Of course it is. Well, I've been inspired by Michael Smith's Voyage of the Southern Sun, which he did in 2015. It's the first solo circumnavigation in a flying boat, apparently, so he said. And he flew a Sea Ray. And there is, although Michael's was specially built for him by the company Progressive, who built the Sea Ray, there is a kit version called the LSX. 600 of these have already been made around the world. It's been flying for a long time. And this is obviously a relatively new one because it's got a glass cockpit. But it's just such a lovely... If you go and read Michael's book, Voyage of the Southern Sun, and there's also a DVD video put together about it. It's just brilliant. And so you've got to see the world by amphibian, flying low and slow, landing where you like. And it's just the way to do it, I think.
I think you got a point there. It's my turn next, and I must admit, when you were talking about 31-hour legs and flying around the world in 8 days, I kind of thought, what's the point? I mean, I could fly around Wiltshire for 8 days and still see as much. So I decided that Murphy Moose was the way to go. So that one's on place. So this one, I think amphibs would obviously be better, give you a few more options. I don't particularly like the idea of doing it with a Russian radial. You can put an IO540 in it, or Ed favours the V12 red diesel engine, which is not going to improve its looks, but I reckon the aim is to take as long as you possibly want. I reckon 10 to 15 years around the world to do it. Stopping off in all sorts of places, and there you go, Murphy Moose. That's what you need.
Looks like you got plenty of space.
Yeah, you need a lot of space because you can buy a lot of souvenirs, can't you, traveling around the world? As I've discovered, not souvenirs that I've been buying personally. But we'll leave that one there, I think. Ed.
So I picked this. It's the Vans RV4, but no less the Vans RV4 that John Johansson, the Australian guy, home builder, built this, flew it around the world no less than 3 times, east, west, and via the poles. An incredible achievement. And John broke 48 FAI records with this aeroplane. And he was in the UK. I think it was in year 2000. He came to the then Popular Flying Association rally at Cranfield. Just a lovely, modest guy. He's written a book called Aim High, and John was a medic, a nurse, not a natural home builder, but did a great job on this aeroplane and just optimized it for real long distance stuff. And no home built has flown. I don't think a home built has flown more times around the world. So many options. So his RV4 would be my choice.
I reckon though, if I flew around the world in an RV4, I would need winching out at the end of it. I'm pretty sure I wouldn't be able to. But there you go, Johnny.
I've gone for a bit of a different option here. I've gone for the Scale Composites 311, which has another name, which is the Virgin Global Flyer. There's a forehead in the cockpit there, Steve Fawcett's forehead. So I figured, basically, if you're going to do it in a wanna, nice and quickly. Then you've ticked the box, you can say you've done it, and then you pack everything into something like an RV or maybe a Beaver, and do it all again with the intention of never finishing and just finding some spot in the world that you would just want to stay in for the rest of your life. So there you go.
Yeah, that is a big home build. That is a big home build.
You need more than a double garage for that, wouldn't you?
Yeah, Julian Treadwell's got a good suggestion, and I wondered about this, partly on the whole Ian's idea of going slowly around the world. But he says, how about the Dean Wilson Explorer? And more purposely, obviously the big Explorer, which he built for Hewlett de Chesney, and I think they made a second one after they dropped one in the woods somewhere. But that was an amazing aeroplane. You could, I think you could swing you couldn't swing the tail open on that one, but it had like a living gallery and all sorts.
Is that the Private Explorer?
The Private Explorer was the little one, had the swing tail, didn't it?
Yeah.
Like a giant flyer.
That had like a little kitchen bedroom with a wicker chair in the back.
Yeah.
I actually flew in the back of that.
Did you? Oh, wow. In the wicker chair?
Not in the wicker chair. It was Sun and Fun, yeah. A long time ago.
Amazing.
There's a test of it in Flyer somewhere.
Yeah. Yeah. So looking through, Andy McKee says Rutan Voyager. Yeah, probably the ultimate home build.
Andy McKee knows about
composites
and flying long distances.
Yeah, Annabelle says Moose.
Thank you, Annabelle.
Nick Allen says a Murphy aircraft was actually my choice. Ian wins, Ed wins. John Johansson stayed at my house during his first trip. Fantastic. He was the most incredible guy, was just a nurse. But then some. Dave wins. Dave wins. Your mission, Ed, in a 3B. I don't think that's a good idea. RV3B around the world is not a good plan. Dave wins. Can Johnny build that in 4 months? Who knows? Ed wins. Ian wins. Ian wins. Ian wins it for me tonight. Dave, I think it might just be an Ian slow and round-engined Moose around the world. A late Ed wins. There we go.
I'll take that. Right. Anyway, some good options there. So as we are running a little bit over, do you want to rattle through all of the events that are happening, Dave?
Yep. Well, this weekend, basically, the summer season kicks off. That's for the UK, JP. I think it's just ending in New Zealand. But summer season kicks off with this weekend. As on the first Saturday, there's a Sherwood Ranger flying. There's also a Eurofox flying at Popham. Private Flyer Fest is in Western Airport in Ireland. On Sunday, there's a helicopter and autogyro flying at North Coates. And next week, during the week on the 5th, there's an Easter event at Solent Airport down south.
Brilliant. Then it's Easter soon, isn't it? Oh, my God.
Yes, yes.
Right. On that basis, I think it's probably time to say thank you very much for watching. Have a great weekend. Maybe don't fly tomorrow because it seems like the weather's going to be a little bit challenging. And we look forward to seeing you next Wednesday, if you're a member. And if not, why not next Thursday otherwise? So on that basis, thank you very much, team. Thank you very much, JP. I'll talk to you in a second. And have a great one, everybody.
Cheerio.
Bye.